A sad young man commits suicide and ends up in another world by mistake, but he doesn't have any superpowers. This new world is filled with deadly monsters and dangerous animals, and he must find a way to survive. What will happen to him, and how will the story unfold? Follow along to the end to find out everything. Our episode today starts with a boy and his girlfriend walking in the rainy weather watching that strange river. It seems they want to commit suicide. His girlfriend says, "Come on, my dear, let's die together." They tie their hands together to jump into the river, but by a stroke of luck, a car hits them both, and they die instantly. The scene then shifts to another place where a young man named Sensei is lying on the ground. He wakes up and says, "What is this strange place? Is this the afterlife?" He looks at a picture and says, "It's really beautiful." Suddenly, he is surprised by a princess who says, "Welcome, adventurer." He asks her who she is, and she tells him her name is Anity, and she is a guide for those who arrive in this place. The adventurer starts looking around the strange place and looks out from a balcony in the castle. Anity tells him this world is different from your original world. You have been chosen to be transported to this place, the strange continent covered in darkness, Zoberg, to restore its light. Therefore, my friend, you must become the hero. The young man is surprised and says, "I've been transported to this strange world. Why me? What a huge bother." The princess says, "Please listen to me, adventurer. You were chosen among many people." He doesn't pay attention to her words and takes some sleeping pills, collapsing to the ground. The girl then purifies the toxins using a technique called detoxification. The adventurer wakes up again and asks her, "Why did you do that? Leave me alone." She tells him, "Adventurer, you must become the hero who saves the world. You have a great destiny ahead of you." But the so-called hero doesn't care and says, "I'm looking for a good place to die. I don't understand any of what you're saying. I'm not a hero. Leave me alone." He then starts taking more pills again. She said to him, "My dear, you are now in another world. The truck that hit you and your girlfriend has brought you here. That truck is known as the truck of the other world. You can say it's a means of transport. When the truck hits a number of chosen people, it allows them to be transported to the other world. This is a global transport service." But he tells her he doesn't care about this because the truck disrupted what was supposed to be the happiest moment of his life. The double suicide with his girlfriend. The girl then spoke to herself saying, well, since that's the case, he must be surprised when he sees his stats, and that he has been granted a tremendous power that no one else has, and he didn't have before. When she looked at his stats, she was shocked and said, "How is he even alive? I think he's dead. I also believe he is very weak." He said to her, "I'm leaving now." So she grabbed his hand and said, "Wait, you're right. You must have been brought to this world by mistake. He is so weak. I've never seen anyone transported to another world this week." Our friend feels sad and says to her, "I'm leaving now." She told him, "You don't have the qualifications to live in this world." He said to her, "I know my luck well. I am a miserable and pessimistic person and will always be an unqualified person. Leave me alone." She said to him, "Wait, please. If you go outside, you will encounter big monsters and you will be killed immediately." He thanked her and told her not to worry about him. He was just looking for a place to die. Anity was very surprised and said, "This man is extremely strange." She then told us about her past, where she was proud to guide those who came from other worlds. Meeting the inhabitants of other worlds excited her. But at some point, she closed her heart and became a woman who fawned over heroes repeatedly. We then see Anity running after Sensei, asking him not to leave before completing the task required of him at least. Sensei looks at her and tells her that his profession has been writing since he was born, and he is not good at doing anything else. He then says to her, "Goodbye, miss with the beautiful ears," and leaves. We then see Sensei in the garden, mocking and saying, "Another world. I can't read anything, but I know I won't find a cafe here." Suddenly, he hears a voice in his head saying, "You have discovered the Great Plains of Iristan and earned 5 experience points." Sensei holds his head and says, "I know who you are, but please stop talking directly into my mind. I suffer from migraines." The voice then tells him that he has leveled up to level 2. Suddenly, Sensei hears a girl's scream. He looks behind him and sees a giant tree holding a girl by her hands and lifting her up. This tree is called the Tree of Death. The girl looks at Sensei and asks him to help and save her from the Tree of Death. Sensei thinks to himself, "I meet many people with strange ears today, but all the women are very beautiful." He asks her, "Can I write a story about you?" The girl is surprised by his question and asks him to hurry and save her. Sensei approaches the tree and tells the girl he can't reach her. She asks him, "Don't you have a weapon or any magical spit?" Then we see the tree of death, wrapping its branch around Sensei's neck and lifting him up as well. Sensei looks at the girl and welcomes her, telling her they will die together. The girl tells him that the trees of death have the ability to absorb and steal the life force of their captives, and they will die within a few minutes. Sensei is delighted and says, "This is good news." The girl is bewildered by his reactions. We then see the tree of death starting to drain the souls of Sensei and the girl. Suddenly, something very strange happens. The monstrous tree begins to die until it completely disappears, and the girl and Sensei fall to the ground. The girl is astonished by what happened to the tree and the miracle that allowed her to survive. Sensei is very upset because he failed to die once again. We then learn that when the tree was absorbing Sensei's energy, it suffered greatly, taking about 300 damage from Sensei's poison. Without any effort on his part, he managed to kill the tree. The girl thinks that the young man made the tree kill itself by absorbing his poison instead of his life force. She says, "Your level has risen to level 2. What's wrong with you? You claim to be weak, but you are actually strong." He doesn't pay any attention to her and starts smoking, feeling very frustrated. He says to the girl, "This is the usual for me. I wish for death and end up surviving in the end. So far, I've tried to die 5 times, and none of them went as planned." The girl says to him, "Anyway, I don't know the reason for your frustration, but I'm happy to be alive." She then thanks him for saving her and invites him to her home. She starts to shake his hand and asks for his name, holding his hand to come with her. Sensei imagines his girlfriend Sachin when they wanted to leave this world together. He realizes that Sachin has also come to this world. The girl gets annoyed and tells him that her name is not Sachin. He leaves the girl and starts walking, thinking about his girlfriend Sachin. The girl gets annoyed by this and by him repeating the name Sachin. She follows him, and Sensei thinks to himself, "I've just found a reason to live in this strange world. I will find you wherever you are in this world, and then we will commit double suicide together." On the other side, we see the queen who summoned Sensei to this world praying for his safety and that he won't get hurt. She also prays that they will meet again. Suddenly, her wish comes true, and the adventurer enters to see her once more. She gets very happy and rushes to him, but is shocked to see a girl with him. She says to him, "Why did we come to this place? Let's leave quickly." The blonde girl wonders who the girl with him is. Sensei tells her, "There's something I want to ask you. I'm actually looking for a woman named Sachin. Do you have any idea where she might be?" The blonde girl gets very upset and says, "Another woman you want." Then he leaves without finding out where his girlfriend is and continues searching for her with the other girl. She reassures him, "It's okay, Sensei, she must be somewhere. My house is still far away, so how about we stop in the city of Castle Roth?" She takes his hand, and then the blonde woman comes, very angry, and scolds her, saying, "How dare you hold a man's hand in public? How can you be so shameless?" The other girl feels a lot of pain and asks, "Why did you come with us anyway?" The blonde woman is embarrassed to answer. The other girl understands and says, "I get it. You love Sensei, don't you?" The woman who summoned Sensei tries to defend herself, saying, "My motive isn't so impure. As a woman of faith, I have a responsibility to protect this weak person from another world." The other girl is surprised that Sensei is from another world and thinks he is very strong. The summoner says, "Don't lie. He's not strong, which is why I must stay by his side." The other girl tells her that he killed a tree of death with one hit and saved her life. The summoner is shocked to hear this and is upset that they have grown so close, feeling that the girl has stolen him from her. Meanwhile, we see Sensei finding a coffin. He is very happy because he has been feeling dizzy since he arrived in this world. He tells them that he will sleep a little and asks them to wake him when they reach the city. He then starts sleeping in the coffin. Summoner girl Anity tries to pull the coffin, but she can't continue because it's too heavy. On the other side, we see his girlfriend Satin standing, watching the sunset and waiting for her friend's return. Will they meet again? This is what we will find out in the upcoming episodes. So stay tuned, but please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to get all the new updates. The episode begins with Tama and Anity carrying the coffin containing Sensei, but it's very heavy. Tama gets frustrated and angrily tells Sensei to get up and walk on his own, but there's no response from him. Tama wonders if he's dead. Anity reassures her that he's fine after using her ability to check his health. He's sleeping peacefully. She tells Tama that they are almost at the castle and should keep moving. We then see Sensei in the coffin, thinking about his beloved. He says, "I will find you for sure, Sachin, and then we'll commit suicide together." The scene transitions to their arrival in the city. Tama tells Sensei to get out of the coffin because they've arrived. Sensei exits the coffin and realizes that this new world he's been transported to isn't so bad. Anity suggests they head to the castle to meet the king. The scene changes to the castle, where we see King Thomas and his daughter, Princess Charlotte, welcoming Sensei and his friends. The king tells them to rest in the castle rooms as their journey was very long and they need to recuperate. They are surprised by the king's generosity. The king explains that he loves reading adventurers' stories and wants them to share their travel experiences with him. Sensei tells the king he will recount his experience of sleeping in a coffin. The king is very surprised and asks him if he is threatening him. Anity tries to change the subject and tells the king that his daughter, Princess Charlotte, is very beautiful. The king tells her that Charlotte will get married soon. Then, we see two warriors entering the hall. The king introduces them as the warrior Gomez and the singer Otto, the wandering love singer. He tells them that due to the influence of the angry demon king, the activity of monsters has increased. However, the king is too old to deal with this problem himself, so he decided that one of them would marry Charlotte. But Charlotte has not yet chosen one of them. The king then asks Sensei Tama and Anity for their opinions on the marriage. Should Charlotte choose Gomez or Otto? Sensei tells the king that Charlotte should marry Otto, because this decision will impact his daughter's future, and it is not something that should be decided by anyone but Charlotte herself. She is the one who should make this decision. He then tells the king, "You are a terrible tyrant and unfit to be a king." Sensei leaves and Tama and Anity apologize profusely to the king for Sensei's rudeness. They explain that Sensei is from another world and does not understand proper etiquette. The king tells them to calm down. The scene transitions to the night. We see Sensei sitting in his room, unable to sleep. Anity asks him if he is okay. He tells her that he cannot sleep. Anity then asks him, "Who is Sachin?" Then suddenly, Anity angrily pulls back the cover and finds Tama. She asks her why she is sleeping next to their master Sensei. Tama tells her that she felt cold, so she slept next to him. They start yelling at each other, and Sensei leaves them and walks around the castle. He finds Princess Charlotte looking at the sky. Sensei approaches her and comments that the view of the sky and the lake is beautiful. Then, he tells her that he wants to jump into the lake, drown, and die. The princess is very surprised and tells him that he is very disturbed and wants to commit suicide. Sensei responds that she is more disturbed than he is. She tells him that she cannot choose between Gomez and Otto. Since Gomez came to the castle, he has become one of the strongest warriors, and her father trusts him very much. On the other hand, Otto is her childhood friend who used to write and sing songs for her. Sensei tells her that she is a very kind girl and cares about her father. He shares that his own life has been very difficult, and he has tried to commit suicide many times, causing a lot of trouble for his father and family. But he never asked anyone to choose his life path for him, not even once. He advises her to do the same and not let anyone decide for her, but she must make the choice herself. Then, the next morning, everyone is in the king's room. The king announces that his daughter Charlotte has chosen whom she will marry, and he asks Sensei and his friends to be witnesses. Anity thinks the princess will choose Gomez, but Tama believes she will choose Otto. Then we see the princess walk towards Gomez and Otto and say, "I have made my decision. I will commit double suicide with this man." She then holds Sensei's hand and chooses him. His Majesty, the king, and her father are shocked by this choice, and everyone else is also stunned that she wants to commit suicide with this young man. We see Anity faint and fall to the ground. Then Princess Charlotte speaks and says, "Traveler, after talking to you, I thought deeply and realized something. Every time I felt sad, Otto would write and sing songs for me. But when I thought about it, I realized he came even when I wasn't sad, and he was also annoying all night. I think he just wanted someone to perform his new songs for. Also, I can't marry Mr. Gomez because he has a somewhat unpleasant smell." His Majesty, the king, intervenes, shocked by her words, and tells her not to be silly and to choose a husband. She responds, "You are the fool, father. Why would you marry me off to someone without asking my opinion first? I don't want to get married in the first place. In the end, no one considered my feelings except this person, Sensei." She then holds Sensei's hands and says, "You were the only one who asked for my opinion." Sensei and respected it. Sensei replies, "I understand. That is why you decided not to marry and to commit double suicide with me." Suddenly, the armored man removes his helmet in a fit of anger and says, "Did you say my smell is unpleasant? You have a sensitive nose." Then, this man begins transforming into a massive muscular bull. Everyone is shocked to discover that he was disguised as the Demon King's servant. Gomez, his plan was to take over the kingdom by becoming its ruler and then offering it to the Demon King. He didn't expect the princess to see through his disguise. Sensei asks her, "Did you know his true identity?" She responds, "Not at all. I just said his smell was unpleasant because it was." Gomez becomes increasingly annoyed and says, "Given the current situation, I no longer need the throne. I'll just kill you all." Tama tries to wake up her friend Anity, saying, "This is not the time to lose consciousness." But Anity does not respond at all. The soldiers try to protect the king and queen, but Gomez strikes them down, and they all fall to the ground. A large rock was about to hit Anity, but Tama saves her just in time, moving her to another place. Tama then attacks the monster Gomez, but her blow has no effect on him. At this moment, Otto starts supporting Tama with a song singing, "Fight, Brave One." Tama believes this is some kind of power-up, but nothing happens. Sensei, however, gets lost in the new song. The monster Gomez begins to attack Tama, but she dodges his attack and strikes him with a cat kick, which has no effect. Tama tries to hit him with all her strength, but he slashes her face. Tama is shocked by the strength of his horns. They are not only very tough, but also sharp. She decides to pour all her strength into her next attack. A monster taunts her, saying his iron horns will cut her to pieces. Sensei intervenes, calling him a cow and apologizing coolly for interrupting, but saying Gomez needs to fight them first. This angers the monster even more. Sensei continues, saying he and the princess want to die first by those magnificent horns. Now that the princess is free from her foolish father's grasp, her only wish is to commit double suicide with him. Therefore, the monster should fulfill her wish. Sensei calls him a cow again, which infuriates Gomez further. He tells them that if they wish to die so badly, he will grant their wishes and kill them first, then the king, and finally burn down the city and kill all the citizens of the kingdom. Sensei responds that Gomez can do whatever he wants, because they only care about dying. Then Sensei looks at Princess Charlotte and tells her he will fulfill her wish now. The monster charges at them to kill them. Charlotte becomes very nervous, but then snaps out of it, deciding she doesn't want to die. She wants to live and protect the people of this kingdom. Hearing her say this, Sensei throws her aside to prevent the monster from harming her. Suddenly, Anity appears and uses a sturdy light barrier spell on Sensei to protect him from the monster's strike. Anity appears just in time and uses a sturdy light barrier to save Sensei from the monster, saying, "I won't allow you to die as long as I'm alive and by your side." After that, Tama assists by using her powerful cat strike, attacking and knocking Gomez into the lake. Tama thanks Anity for saving them from the massive monster. Otto then appears and says, "I will turn your friendship into a song." The king then speaks with Charlotte, apologizing, "I can't believe what I was trying to do without considering your feelings. I am a very failed king and also a failed father." He begs her to forgive him. She lovingly replies, "I want you to allow me to talk to you about the kingdom and about us." The king hugs Charlotte and they cry together. Sensei and his friends look at them with love and sadness, and Sensei says, "I failed to die once again." Afterward, we go to the castle where Charlotte talks to the knights saying, "Monsters have appeared near the southern gate. The royal forces must go there immediately to exterminate them to protect the kingdom. I rely on you all very much." The scene shifts to Anity and Tama. Anity says Charlotte made a very bold decision to become queen at the age of 16. It won't be easy for her. Sensei responds, "She made the decision herself. There's nothing to worry about. Women rely on themselves well," and that's how today's episode ends. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes, and don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive all new updates. Our episode begins with Annette and Tama walking together. Tama tells her, "I'm very hungry," and they take a break, with Tama lying on the ground. Sensei opens the coffin and asks them why they stop. Annette tells him it's time to eat and gives him bread. He asks her if she has boiled tofu. She says no, but offers to look for it in the city and bring it for him. Then Annette opens the map and Tama asks how much longer until they reach home. Annette tells her it will be a few days and mentions that they will stop at the second temple. She explains that usually people from other worlds arrive at one of the 4 temples and then head to the Demon King's castle. However, Sensei's goal isn't to defeat the Demon King, but to find Sachin. Therefore, they need to visit all 4 temples to gather information. Tama is surprised because this means they will travel around the world. Annette confirms this and reveals she actually doesn't want Sensei to face the Demon King or be exposed to danger. Tama then asks, "Do you love Sensei, Annette?" Annette is very surprised and tells her no. It's not like that. She explains that Sensei showed her the light when she lost hope in her work, and now it's her turn to help him. Tama asks what Annette will do if this girl named Sachin is Sensei's beloved, and more importantly, if they will be allowed into the temple since Annette left her previous job to come here. Annette assures her that the head priest of the 2nd temple is her friend. At this moment, Sensei comes out of the coffin and smokes a cigarette. Annette continues and says she didn't leave her position without informing anyone. She had Elfie deliver her resignation. Suddenly, a creature called Elfie appears and stands on Sensei's head, causing him pain. Annette gets angry because Elfie always harms everyone. She grabs him and asks if he delivered her resignation. Elfie pulls out her resignation letter. Annette is furious and asks why he returned if he didn't complete his task. Elfie then stands in front of Sensei and tells him that he has decided his new name will be Milos, not Elfie. Milos flies around Sensei, who then goes back into the coffin and closes it. Annette becomes very anxious because she left her job without proper notice and her resignation was not delivered. Suddenly, Milos starts behaving strangely and Annette is puzzled by his actions. Out of nowhere, a huge dragon appears. Annette wonders why a dragon, considered the strongest monster in the world, is here. Suddenly, a girl appears behind them and says, "Stop, Ryuka." She approaches the dragon and calms it down easily. The girls are astonished by her ability to tame the dragon. Annette asks, "Who are you?" The girl looks at them and warns that the area is full of dangerous beasts, and they should leave immediately. Sensei then emerges from the coffin and asks if it's time to eat. Tama apologizes to the girl for scaring her with Sensei, explaining that he's an odd person from another world. When the girl realizes he's from another world, she removes her cloak and declares she will kill him. As she kills anyone who comes from another world, she starts using her magic to attack them. Annette creates a barrier to protect them from her attacks. The girl overpowers them, causing the ground to collapse. We see the 3 heroes on the ground, exhausted. Tama and Annette get up and decide they will protect Sensei no matter what. Suddenly, Tama and Annette feel they can't move. A mark appears on the evil girl's neck, and Annette realizes that this girl is the furious demon queen. Sensei stands up and tells her to stop. He explains that Annette and Tama are not from other worlds and have no part in this. He approaches her and says, "I am from another world. I am your enemy. Do with me as you wish. I am ready to die at any time." In that moment, Wadelia uses her power and strikes a very strong blow. So strong that her hand goes through to the other side, causing blood to spill everywhere, and Sensei falls to the ground dead. She then introduces herself as Waldelia and leaves the place. But something very strange happens. After she stabs him, Sensei rises again, placing his hand on the wound and says, "That girl stabbed me. She must hold a very strong hatred." He then says, "I once wanted to stab someone too, but my stab was different. I reached the point of sending a threatening message to him." Waldelia is surprised and says, "I don't understand anything. What are you talking about?" But he continues saying, "At that time, I lost my mind in front of intense hatred." He then approaches her and looks into her eyes, finding them very sad, and asks, "Why are you sad, miss?" She quickly summons the dragon Ryuka, then jumps and escapes quickly, very surprised by what happened. In the evening, when it was extremely cold and rainy, the 3 return to the palace, carried by the creature Milos. The princess is surprised by what she sees, then lifts a knight and says to her, hold on, sister." Anna replies, "Don't worry about me, help Sensei." Then the princess tells everyone to bring all the healing potions they have and to summon all the priests and doctors in the city. The next morning, we move to the market to that man, the pig, while we see Sensei, who has slightly recovered, buying a bottle of poison from him. This poison is extremely dangerous, capable of killing monsters, let alone if used on a human. But the surprise is that he opens the bottle and drinks it. Everyone yells at him, "What are you doing, you fool? You were healed miraculously by God's grace, and now you drink poison again?" He replies, I feel unwell and in great pain in my stomach. At that point, Tama gets angry, grabs the bottle, and throws it to the ground. Meanwhile, we see the princess and Annette talking about Sensei's complete recovery. Annette thanks her, saying that if it weren't for her help, he would have been dead and that she will definitely repay this debt somehow. Then she asks her, do you know a girl from another world named Sachin? Aisha tells her that she does not know her as she hasn't come to their temple yet. She scolds her and says, don't worry about such things. But why are you traveling with someone from another world? I was also surprised when I heard that you resigned from your job without notice, but I was also relieved. I felt that you were too pure for that job. But traveling with someone from another world. You know very well that these people from other worlds are very evil, with no heart at all. They are given powers known as the gifts to defeat the Demon King, yet they use these excessively powerful abilities for their own interests. At that moment, a jester approaches them and says, what's this? Are you two arguing? Come on, fairy, get those frowns off your faces and enjoy with me. I'm from another world, and I promise I will help you a lot. My ability is to multiply money, isn't that amazing? Aisha gets very angry and hits him with the money, saying, you fool, we are talking, and you interrupted our privacy. He quickly runs away, saying, you will pay for this, miss. Then she tells her, see, these people from other worlds are all evil like... But the other one tells her that Sensei is different from the rest of the people from other worlds. However, Aisha insists that he is evil, claiming that she can see it in their faces. She can reveal the true nature of people just by looking at them. She warns that staying with him will destroy her. But she replies, if it weren't for Sensei, I wouldn't have become the person I am today. At that moment, Sensei enters, asking for some money to buy some medicine. She tells her that Sensei has no talent or power, yet he risked his life in front of the angry Demon King to protect us. Aisha is surprised and says, what are you talking about? The angry Demon King was defeated by someone from another world 7 days ago. Aisha tells her friend that the angry Demon King was defeated by someone from a different world 7 days ago. On the other hand, we go to the Demon King's castle and see that the person who killed him is sitting on his throne. This dragon starts crying over the Demon King, and this person says to him, calm down. Your master won't return no matter how much you bark. I've gotten rid of him. We see the Demon King's daughter outside the castle, very sad over the loss of her father. Out of grief, she has been killing everyone who comes from another world. On the other hand, we switch to Tama, who is shocked that the angry Demon King has been defeated. Annette tells her that Aisha received a letter from the church headquarters yesterday stating that the Demon King was defeated by someone from another world 7 days ago. Annette rejoices, as peace has finally been restored to the world. Tama is overjoyed and thanks this person from another world for saving them from the tyranny of the Demon King. However, Tama suddenly remembers and asks, but who was that girl? Annette shares this question saying, didn't Sensei come to this world 7 days ago? Annette responds, that's right, I'll never forget that day. It changed my life. Tama tells her, I didn't mean that at all, but I am puzzled by the question of why Sensei came to this world when there is no longer a Demon King here. Suddenly, Sensei tears up a piece of paper, throws it into the air, and falls to the ground, saying, maybe I'll die here. A man who spent his life tearing pages of mistakes from his pen carved that on my tombstone. The girls wonder what happened to him, and he tells them all it is. I thought of writing down the events that have occurred since I came to this world, but I find it difficult to write, and now I feel hopeless because of that. Annette becomes very happy and says, did you describe our first meeting, Sensei? He replies, I didn't write anything about you, which shocks her greatly and she cries. Sensei continues saying, when I met the Demon Queen in Delia, I felt a strange surge of creativity. I pray that something else happens to excite my senses. Annette tells him, what do you think about going to the city to relax and consider our future? There are some things I'd like to buy for you, Sensei. They indeed go out, and Annette buys him a very strong silver shield that reflects beginner-level spells. This is suitable for you, Sensei, as we never know when we might be attacked or by whom. I don't want to see you suffer again, she says. Tama, displeased with the shield, tells her it seems he is suffering now. Sensei tells them this oppressive feeling isn't so bad. Annette places a helmet on his head and tells him, we are going shopping. Don't move without us. People begin to notice him in this state and are very surprised. Aisha is shocked to see him there and asks, what are you doing here, stranger from another world? He replies, I was seeking new excitement. She says, it doesn't matter. I wanted to talk to you anyway. Listen, stranger from another world, Annette will stay with me from now on. She has always been a very pure girl, and this makes her trust people easily. But staying with someone from another world will surely make her unhappy. As her friend, I have to intervene, so please dissolve your group with Annette. Sensei tells her, the decision is Annette's whether she wants to accompany me or not yours. She is not a caged bird. Why are you so sure she will be unhappy? She replies, because you are from another world, and let me be clear, I never trust people from another world. Suddenly, a person arrives riding a wolf. This person, named Suzuki, is also from another world. Suzuki speaks and tells them that a few days ago, the angry demon king was defeated by a group of people from another world. Rejoice, people. Peace has come to your world. He announces. Everyone cheers and shouts, long live the people from another world. Suzuki seizes this opportunity and says, the ones who brought you peace are the people from another world who risked their lives in battle. Thus begins a new era for this world, led by us, the people from another world. It will be known as the era of the great hero, and I will rule this city. If you understand what I am saying, kneel, you fools. Tama says, the era of the great hero, who does he think he is? The clown from another world points at Annette and says, this is the fairy who acted violently against me. Suzuki, furious, dismounts from the wolf and says, she acted violently against someone from another world. Annette tells him, this is a misunderstanding. We didn't commit any violence. Suzuki, still enraged, goes to her, places his hand on her head and says, be good. Will he be able to harm her? What does Suzuki want? This is what we will find out in the next episode. So stay tuned. But please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all new updates. Our episode begins with Suzuki placing his hands on Annette and saying, be a good girl. He uses his magic on her, and suddenly her eyes change, falling under his control. Kotaro approaches Annette and says, here is the work of my great master. The fairy quickly fell before your skill. Tama grabs him by the neck and asks, what did you do to Annette? He tells her that Suzuki has the power to turn anyone into his slave and control them very easily. Tama gets very angry, and when she tries to hit him, Suzuki also puts his hands on her and tells her to calm down, using his magic on her as well. She falls under his control, just like Annette. Suzuki says, no human or monster can resist my extraordinary power. Then Princess Aisha appears and tells him to stop causing harm, saying she did not teach him to use force in this way. The city will never bow to him, and all the people support her, objecting to Suzuki's actions. Suzuki tells them that he will destroy their city entirely and build a new kingdom for himself. He then orders the monsters to attack, and they do, attacking the people. He leaves Aisha surrounded by many monsters, telling her that he will use her church as his fortress. We then see the monsters destroying and burning the city and houses. Tama attacks Sensei, who is wearing warrior armor, and he says, indeed, we do not know from whom or where an attack may come. Tama breaks Sensei's armor and passes out, falling to the ground. Sensei puts her in a wooden box and locks it. Aisha appears before Sensei and says to him, do you see? This is the true nature of those who come from other worlds. This person named Suzuki was from another world, using his powers in an evil way, and his greed has become unstoppable. He has completely lost control. He was not like this when he first came here. He was calm and weak-willed. Sensei writes down her words in his notebook as Suzuki stirs his emotions. He asks her where Suzuki is, and she tells him he went to the church. He asks her to take care of Tama and leaves. Aisha tells him to stop as he doesn't have the strength to attack Suzuki. Sensei looks at Aisha and tells her he feels like he's about to write his masterpiece. She tells him that she will accompany him there. When they arrive at the church door, Aisha is amazed at Sensei's nonchalance as he is unaware of Suzuki's strength. She warns him that the monsters will tear them apart as soon as they open the door without a plan and orders him to duck and walk behind her to enter through the back door. Sensei doesn't care about her words and opens the church door, entering inside. They go to Suzuki's room, where Suzuki asks if she came with this man named Sensei to protect her. Sensei tells him that he is interested in him and his personality and wants to write a novel about him. He wants to write a story about the hero Suzuki, who invades another world and gains more power than he deserves, drowning in his greed. Suzuki gets angry because Sensei's words insult him, So he uses his power and orders his monsters to attack Sensei. Aisha stands in front of Sensei and kills the monsters with her magic wand, but one of the monsters bites her wand. Suzuki then orders his monsters to fire at Aisha and Sensei, and they do. As the flames are about to reach Sensei and Aisha, Milos appears wearing a mask and deflects all the fire attacks. Sensei thanks him and recalls Annette, telling him that Milos can reflect beginner-level spells. We then return to the scene where the flames burn Kotaro and he extinguishes them. Suzuki orders him to calm down as they still have many powerful monsters. Suzuki then commands a monster to bite Sensei on the shoulder. But when the monster does, Sensei is unharmed, and the monster dies immediately from taking 600 damage due to Sensei's poison. Aisha approaches Sensei and tells him that mixing the poison with his blood is very dangerous and uses her magic on him. Kotaro, frightened of Sensei, flees, leaving Suzuki alone. Aisha orders Suzuki to surrender, but he refuses, saying he will never give up. Suddenly, Annette appears behind him, shocking Aisha. Suzuki commands Annette to kill Aisha and Sensei. Annette draws her weapon and attacks Aisha, and we see Aisha telling Sensei that they cannot fight Annette. Suzuki and Senshi were in a heated argument. Senshi said that Annette was not as weak as she thought she was, and that she was strong enough to return to her former self. Suzuki responded, saying that when someone is affected by his exceptional power, it cannot be removed no matter what happens, and that this woman would be his slave for life. Senshi replied that it was Annette's choice, and that Suzuki had no say in the matter. Senshi then stood in front of Annette and told her that he knew she wasn't a caged bird. Annette raised a knife to kill him, but hesitated. Suzuki shouted at her to kill Senshi quickly, but Annette didn't respond and lowered the knife. This angered Suzuki, and he continued to yell at her to kill Senshi, but to no avail. Annette began to remember herself as free and unrestrained, as if she were breaking out of a bird cage. Suddenly, Annette returned to her true self, but fainted, collapsing to the ground. Senshi caught her and asked Isha to heal her. Isha quickly cast a spell on Annette to restore her consciousness. Annette remembered Senshi's words to her, that she was never as weak as she thought. Meanwhile, Suzuki, seething with anger, declared to Senshi that his power was immensely strong. He then took the knife, intending to kill himself. Senshi grabbed the knife from him and forbade him from ending his life, saying that he was writing a book about him and wanted to know what had happened. Senshi then ordered Suzuki to tell his story. Suzuki recalled his teenage years when he had friends who bullied him in every way and constantly beat him. He was always shy and unable to stand up to anyone, making him weaker than them, and they treated him like their pet. He thought about suicide countless times but never had the courage to do it. Everyone hated him. One night, while returning from his lessons, he was hit by a car and died. He came to this world as Suzuki and met Aisha, who told him that he had been chosen to save this world and that he had to use the power given to him to defeat the enraged Demon King. Suzuki then went to the forest to train and become stronger. There, he encountered the Demon King and killed him with a single gesture. He walked among the people, astonished, as it was the first time he had seen people in such a way, and they all looked at him with hatred, knowing he had come from another world. Suzuki spoke, saying someone who suffered continuous failure in their old world was suddenly given power and became a hero. Do you think they would save a strange world? I couldn't even manage to do evil as I should have. In every world, I was just a nobody with a weak will. Senshi replied, the novel based on your story is complete. It's the story of a miserable man who hoped to live as a hero in this world, but couldn't become a hero or a villain because of his weakness. He's no longer a hero and is not allowed in another world. Senshi thanked him, saying that thanks to Suzuki, he was able to write something satisfying after a long time. But unfortunately, he couldn't say it was his masterpiece. Then, a large beam of light emanated from the paper surrounding Suzuki. Underneath it, a summoning circle for a person from another world activated, causing a massive light in the sky, and Suzuki disappeared. Aisha exclaimed, "It's impossible. Suzuki has returned from another world to his original one." Annette realized that Senshi possessed a unique power that only activated against specific targets, those from other worlds. She wondered if Senshi was brought into this world to fight others from different worlds. Senshi admitted, "I failed to write my masterpiece again. I'll find someone else who can inspire me." When asked about Suzuki, Annette replied that Senshi had returned him to his original world. They then returned to the city and saw the monsters retreating. Tama emerged from the barrels, furious because she had been trapped in them. They thanked Aisha for her help, and Aisha asked to speak privately with Annette. Aisha told Annette that Senshi might have an important role in the future of this world and that their adventure would be difficult and dangerous, so she should support him. She believed Annette could do it. Later, Aisha spoke with Senshi about Suzuki, saying that this world had given Suzuki more power than he deserved, leading to his current state. She speculated that he would return to his world and live a miserable life again. Senshi replied that Suzuki's story as a hero ended in this world, but his story wasn't over in his own world. It was up to Suzuki whether he would become a masterpiece or not. At the end of the episode, we see Suzuki sitting with a young man who says, "I reviewed your resume. You didn't finish your studies. Can I ask why?" But Suzuki doesn't say anything. The young man apologizes, saying, "I'm sorry if you don't like talking about it." This is how today's episode of the anime ends. Stay tuned for the next episodes, and don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell to get all the latest updates. Our episode today begins in the city of Zilberberg after Miss Ayesha arrives. She sees Wolf drinking alcohol again and scolds him for it, explaining that this alcohol is a mind-altering substance and harmful to the body. However, he tells her that he cannot quit this bad habit. He adds that she is lucky because the Demies live outside her jurisdiction, whereas he suffers every day dealing with the dwarves, whose body odor is very unpleasant. At that moment, the Red Dog Man approaches him and says, "That's enough. You shouldn't make racist remarks against different species in the Papal State, Bishop Wolf." Wolf stands up from his seat and says, "Excuse me for that, but my status allows it because I have been promoted to the rank of Archbishop, Mr. Elton." However, Mr. Elton tells him that no matter how high he is promoted, he should not say such things because everyone is a creature of God. Furthermore, in reality, there are many elves who behave inappropriately. Wolf becomes angry because he is an elf and yells at him, "Do you want us to change the treatment? Things will end badly. You are lucky to be in constant peace. But if war is declared on you, it will be a third world war." Mr. Elton replies, "My dear, I am at peace because people love me, whereas you might need to try improving your manners to be more acceptable to everyone." At that moment, the man named Cardinal Miller arrives and orders them all to sit. He gathers them at the table and apologizes for summoning them during their duties. He wants reports from all of them about the regions they govern. But before he finishes speaking, the lady with red hair named Aria from the Temple of Erston arrives and falls, apologizing for being late. She introduces herself as the replacement for Lynette and says she is new to the place, now in charge of the Temple of Erston. Cardinal Miller tells her to provide her information immediately and to cut the chatter. She responds, "All right, Cardinal. In Stark, the Holy Land of mountains and fire, there are no reports." But he says, "How is that possible? I heard that Charlotte, daughter of King Roth, has inherited the throne." Aria, looking very confused and playful, apologized profusely, saying she had forgotten. Everyone was surprised by her behavior, realizing she wouldn't stay quiet for long. Then the Red Dog Man began to introduce himself, saying, "I am Elton, Archbishop of the Temple of Verton. I am pleased to meet you all. As for my region, peace and tranquility continue in Metvok, the holy land of lakes and water. Thank God we are not facing any problems." Next, the elf wolf introduced himself. He is from the Temple of Distran, governing the region of Samstag, the holy land of deserts and sands, which is very remote. He stated that they manage things well thanks to God. Cardinal Miller then asked him, "I've heard there are many conflicts among the dwarves. Is that true?" Wolf replied, "Yes, it's a constant occurrence. They even attacked me when I tried to mediate." Then Shab introduced herself, saying she is from the Temple of Zoiden. She informed them that a few days ago, in her jurisdiction, the holy land of forests and winds, a creature from another world wreaked havoc and destroyed half of the city of Phil. They are now working on restoring the city in various ways. Cardinal Miller pondered this, remarking, "Someone from another world. That's very strange. But I called you all here today to discuss this issue of beings coming from other worlds. We have decided to cut the magical circles connecting our world to others and stop summoning beings from other worlds." Elton expressed his relief, saying, "I'm very glad the battle against the Demon King ended some time ago. We've finally been freed from dealing with those beings from other worlds. They truly caused trouble." Cardinal Miller then mentioned the 7 beings from other worlds who had defeated the wrathful Demon King, taken over his lands and become its new rulers. Recently, the king received an announcement from these 7 declaring, "We will use our power to turn Zauberberg into a utopia." Everyone was outraged, asking how this could happen and what the king said. Cardinal Miller informed them that the king was furious and deeply troubled. This was understandable, as he had trusted and loved these 7, believing they would protect the land and remain loyal. But the situation had taken an unfortunate turn. Those whom he considered his children turned against him. In any case, they can consider this a declaration of war against the Church of Helsin. The great angels who once saved the world have now fallen and threaten it. At the same time, they must not ignore the fallen beings from other worlds who have started causing trouble in every region. He also mentioned that the daughter of the enraged demon king, who disappeared from his castle, cannot be ignored either. Afterward, he informed everyone that Zauberberg has entered a new and challenging era, and their mission is to overcome these trials and protect the peace. Wolf remarked that the 7 fallen angels from other worlds, along with the daughter of the demon king, present a mountain of problems. They never imagined that beings from other worlds would become their enemies. If these beings cooperate, it will be a much bigger problem than the demon king. Arya questioned how they could fight such powerful beings and then remembered Aisha Sensei. She mentioned that there might be a way to defeat the beings from other worlds. She recounted her encounter with a certain being from another world in Phil, who used his ability to send another being from another world back to his own world. Everyone was shocked by her statement, as they had never seen such power before. Aisha responded that this person could do anything, and with his ability, he could return beings from other worlds back to their own realms. At that moment, their leader arrived and told them that the person Aisha spoke of was their only hope. He then asked her to tell him more about this individual. We then see a girl whose appearance is not shown. Her assistant informs her that their allies have departed to many lands and will remain here to observe what happens to this world. After that, we see Annette and Tama at the gate of the village of Gryan. Tama proudly states that thanks to her rigorous training, her level has risen to 17. Annette responds, the one who has leveled up should be the one pulling the coffin. Annette then tries to find an inn, and a child tells her that there is one at the end of the road. She thanks the child for his help, and he offers more assistance by providing them with information that could aid them in their adventures. He tells them about the hero service, which involves beings from other worlds being assigned to accompany groups lacking confidence in their abilities, ensuring a safe and comfortable journey. He mentions that these beings from other worlds are heroes who will save their world. He offers to introduce them to a being from another world for just 40,000 Geniko. Tama replies that they don't have that much money. But Annette has a different opinion. She takes out the money and tells him that they want one brave warrior. Tama is shocked by her friend's actions, but Annette explains that it's a small price to pay for Sensei's safety, as life is priceless. The child tells them that this dead person prays for their safety from the other world, and would be very happy to know that they are accompanied by a hero. Sensei emerges from the coffin, startling the child, who exclaims, "The corpse talk." Sensei responds, "I am a person who belongs to the realm of death, but I am not a dead corpse talking." Tama adds, "Despite his appearance, Sensei is a hero." The child is incredulous, saying heroes don't have faces like rusty swords. He then rushes off, saying he will bring them a real hero, and asks them to wait there. At night, they waited in the same place. An old woman asked them, "Are you staying for the night?" Annette replied, "Wait a little. We are waiting for someone." Sensei told them, "The boy will not return. I have the eyes of an adult." The old woman then said, "Are you waiting for a child named Nier? If you gave him money, that's his usual trick, and he has deceived you. That boy has never met a hero and certainly can't introduce you to one. You've been tricked by the chatterbox Nier." Annette became very angry, and Tama tried to calm her down. Annette said, "I lost my temper for a moment." The old woman explained that Nier is an orphan who started living in this town, earning his keep by deceiving visitors now and then. No adults reprimand him. He is a nuisance to the town, and the heroes he talks about do not exist. She questioned why, if such great people existed, they would not save him, and why Nier continued these actions. We then see Nier in a different place, where he is suddenly kidnapped. A gang ties him up with a rope. One of the boys says, "It looks like you've gathered a lot of money." "We're lucky," Nier replied. "My companions from other worlds will not let anything happen to me." The boy said, "We come from other worlds too, and this ultimate weapon can even pierce dragon skin. We heard you use our name to collect money. You are a wicked child, and wicked children deserve to be punished. Boast about the other world where you were killed by a hero. Nier thought to himself, are these the heroes who are supposed to save our world? Finally, Sensei arrived just in time to save Nier from being beaten. Sensei said, people like you cannot be called heroes. Children learn to lie so easily from adults. The gang members realized that Sensei was also from another world, which shocked them. They started assessing Sensei's condition and strength, finding that he wasn't weak, but had only one health point and was poisoned. The gang leader underestimated him and aimed his weapon at Sensei to scare him and the heroes with him, saying, "We will make you suffer like never before and then kill you." At that moment, Sensei gave him a terrifying look, and everyone noticed that Sensei's health points were rising unusually as he became extremely excited. This frightened everyone. Sensei said, "You plan to kill me with this arrow." What an excellent plan. He then clasped his hands to form a heart shape on his chest and told the leader, "Make sure to aim here," and laughed hysterically. Terrified, the thieves fled, calling Sensei a pervert. The boy then asked Sensei, "Are you a hero?" Sensei replied, "I am not something as grand as that, and that's better. Adults are just kids who have been betrayed. But you are still a child, not ready to become an adult yet. For now, you should hold on to that perspective." Sensei left without untying the boy. The boy called out for Sensei to wait and untie him, but to no avail. The next morning, the girls and Sensei were preparing to head to Grian. Tama asked Sensei, "Haven't you had enough sleep? And where did you go last night?" Annette asked, "Were you with a woman?" Sensei replied, "It was indeed an enjoyable night." Annette became very annoyed, insisting on knowing what happened to him last night. Sensei simply entered the coffin and went to sleep. Suddenly, the chatterbox boy Nier appeared, saying, "Never mind that, let's go now." Tama was very upset to see him and scolded him for lying to them and taking their money. Nier defended himself, saying, "I didn't lie to you. I told you I would introduce you to a brave warrior, and that brave warrior is the one with you in the coffin." They could hardly believe it, but after Nier recounted what had happened to him the previous night, Nier joined their group and accompanied them on their journey. As they started walking to their destination, Sensei woke up from the coffin, having gained 5 experience points. When he put his hand on Nier's head, Nier was surprised and reassured by this gesture. Sensei tells the boy, "There isn't a day when living isn't painful and I want to die." The boy quickly runs to the girls and tells them that Sensei wants to die. Tama says, "More importantly, Nie, switch places with me and help pull Sensei's coffin." "How long will you let a lady pull this coffin? Aren't you a brave warrior?" Nier begins pulling the coffin, allowing Tama to rest. They finally reach Tama's hometown, the city of Grian, their long-awaited destination. Tama is overjoyed as she hasn't been home in a long time. She wonders how everyone is doing. Annette notices a checkpoint at the city gate and mentions it. Tama reassures them, "They will let us pass as soon as they see my face because I'm well known here." Tama confidently approaches with her companions, but something strange happens. The military forces surround them with weapons, ordering them not to resist and stating that they are all under arrest. They mock Tama's earlier statement about being well known. The group is thrown into a cell, with Annette crying out for someone to save them. But to no avail. She prays to her deity for deliverance from this place. Our episode ends here. Stay tuned for the next episodes as we continue this story together. But before you leave, please subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to stay updated with all our new content. Our episode today begins with Sensei and the girls being held in a prison. The girls are crying a lot and are very scared of what will happen to them. As for Sensei, he doesn't care and is sleeping as usual. It seems they were captured because of a girl named Tama, who is suspected of committing a heinous crime, such as stealing some items from the royal family. However, Annette tells them that Tama is not a thief and is a very kind girl. Then Sensei asks about the method of execution in this world because all he cares about is execution. He just wants to die. But the new boy tells him he doesn't want to die, so they should try to escape through any gap they can find. Annette asks him how they can escape from there, saying it's very dangerous. He tells her not to worry about it, as he is a professional in picking locks. And indeed, my friends, he opens the lock in about 10 seconds. At that moment, Sensei wakes up, and the boy is very happy because he thinks Sensei will praise him. But that's not the case. Sensei asks him why he opened the lock. The boy gets angry because Sensei is a mysterious man who always does the opposite of what people expect. But things don't go well at that moment. The soldiers arrive and discover them, then tie them up. Sensei speaks to the soldier and asks when they will be executed because he is in a hurry. The soldier looks at him in amazement and tells him to be quiet. They are all taken to the king, who tells them that the crime they committed is severe, and that's why they will be executed, as they have kidnapped Princess Matilda. At that moment, the princess enters, and everyone is surprised because she is the girl who was with them from the beginning. She tells her father that it's not what he thinks and reminds him that she has told him many times that she was visiting many countries to improve her martial arts skills and that she met them during her travels. Then she looks at Annette and asks her if that's right. Annette says, "Yes, Your Highness." The princess gets angry and tells her to treat her as she used to. She then tells her father to release them immediately, but the king disagrees as he wants to execute them. Annette and the boy next to her are very scared, while Sensei is relaxed and happy because he will finally be executed. He truly is an odd person. At that time, the king decides to free them but imposes one condition on his daughter, the princess. She must promise him that she will behave in a manner befitting the royal family and will not do anything foolish again. The princess thinks for a moment, then turns to her father and says, "I understand, father. I swear by God that I will behave appropriately as a princess from now on." Then the princess looks at her friends and apologizes to them. This marks the end of their journey together. She leaves the place while the king releases their bonds and tells them to leave. In the evening, we see them in a restaurant very happy that they have been set free. Nir calls out to the restaurant worker to bring him some meat, but Annette tells him not to act foolishly. As for Sensei, we see that he is completely dejected because he was not executed. It was as if the execution was a trivial matter. They then discuss the princess, who called herself Tama. Annette had lived with her for a long time and treated her harshly and foolishly, but her real name is Matilda. The restaurant girl comes over and introduces herself as Kojika. She used to serve Princess Matilda in the palace as her maid. She asks if they are friends of the princess, to which Nir replies that they were traveling together until yesterday, but the king forced her to return to the castle. There's nothing they can do about it since she is the princess. Sensei talks to Kojika, asking her to share some information. Kojika asks if he wants to know about the princess's past. He tells her that he'll share a little story. When he first met the princess, she was trapped by a wild tree, but he managed to free her. Now her father keeps her locked in the palace. She is a fascinating woman, and it's hard not to be intrigued by her. His friends tell him that he should not call her Tama and should not pry into her past because she is now the princess. He tells them he doesn't care if she is a princess or a vagabond. The scene shifts to Tama, who is talking to herself, saying that when Annette and Nir found out she was a princess, they were very surprised, but Sensei showed no astonishment. She wonders what they are doing now. As she looks out of the window at the moon, she notices a strange figure standing far away. Suddenly, something strange happens, and the city is attacked by this mysterious person. The guards and the king come out and ask what happened. This is the city of Gryan, the land that houses many hybrid creatures. We see the strange man sitting, and when the king asks who he is, he tells him his name is Kaibara. He is one of the heroes who killed the demon king and saved the world from his evil. He is known as the fallen angel of gluttony and is one of the 7 fallen angels called Helzen. He has come to devour the entire town. Kaibara begins using his magical abilities. When the guards try to attack him, Kaibara uses his magic, and the fangs of beasts appear beside the guards, devouring them all and overpowering them. He tells the remaining guards that he doesn't like disgusting meat and wants to eat the flesh of beautiful women. The king instructs the remaining guards to retreat and decides to attack Kaibara alone, declaring that he will not let him leave the city alive. The king then uses his immense power to attack Kaibara, and Kaibara responds with his own strength. However, the king overcomes the fangs of the beasts and destroys them all, then unleashes a powerful lightning strike at Kaibara. Yet it has no effect on Kaibara, who tells the king that such a strike would have killed any ordinary person. But his body is too tough for it to work because he recently consumed many golems. This angers the king, who uses his magical power again. As Kaibara also prepares to attack, Princess Matilda suddenly appears. Upon seeing Kaibara, she realizes that he is the same person she saw on the rooftop in the sky and decides to fight alongside her father. Her father becomes furious and tells her to step aside, calling her a fool and asking if she thinks she can take her brother Leon's place. The scene shifts to Sensei and the others, where Kojika tells them that Matilda had a twin brother named Prince Leon who was supposed to inherit the throne of Gryan. Everyone believed that with the prince and princess, complete peace would reign. However, on a stormy night 10 years ago, during a landslide on their way back to the castle, Prince Leon and Queen Alabama died. The king was deeply saddened for a long time. Princess Matilda then decided to take her brother's place and cut her hair. But things did not go as the princess had expected, and a rift developed between her and her father. The scene returns to the king and his daughter, with the king telling her to step back and never to trust her combat skills. Matilda becomes angry and decides to attack Kaibara again. Kaibara uses his power, and the beast's fangs appear. Just as they are about to devour Matilda, her father saves her, resulting in a severe injury to his arm. Matilda attacks Kaibara once more, but Lord Briard intervenes, taking her and fleeing quickly. Kaibara looks at the king and says, "My delicious meal has escaped, but no matter, I'll save my last course for later. Now, how shall I kill you, king?" The scene shifts back to Sensei and his friends as they are leaving, and suddenly, Lord Briard collapses in front of them. Annette and the others are greatly worried about Tama. He reassures them not to worry, stating that she's just unconscious. He mentions that they had to escape wildly because Gryan's castle fell to a villain from another world who appeared suddenly. Suddenly, a loud explosion is heard, surprising everyone as they see His Majesty King Siberian bound in chains with his mouth gagged. This villain appears behind him, addresses the people of Gryan, and introduces himself as Kaibara, the new king of this country. He tells them not to worry. He hasn't come to oppress them. There's only one thing he wishes to do as the new king, which is to taste the flesh of all the different hybrid creatures living there, especially the women and children. Men can continue working normally. One of the people gets angry and throws a small stone from the ground at Kaibara, demanding he comes down, calling him crazy and threatening to beat him up. Kaibara instantly devours him and says, "It was misleading to say just women and children. I'll eat the hybrid men too if you want, and families will reunite in my stomach." The people are terrified and try to flee, but Kaibara tells them there's no point in escaping, as he has placed monsters who once served the Demon King all around the city. He says, "Let's meet at the dinner table, you delicious creatures." He then drops the king to the ground and drags him by the chain like an animal. On the other hand, Sensei is seen writing in his book everything that's happening. He addresses Tama, who is unconscious, saying, "Your father just restrained you, and now you're the princess of a fallen country. You're indeed the heroine of a disastrous series, but the heroine I'm looking for never accepts tragedy submissively. Come on, open your eyes and show me the rest of your story." We see Tama dreaming of her mother, whom she misses dearly. She wakes up, finds herself in this room, and realizes she's in Kojika's house. She opens the door and asks her friends what happened. The old man tells her that the man has taken over the royal capital and is trying to eat everyone, even having eaten the king's hand. Tama becomes very angry and tries to rush to save her father and avenge him. The old man holds her hands to prevent her from doing so. She tries to free herself, but everyone stops her. Her old maid tells her that the king was no match for him. Tama responds, "My father was defeated because he was protecting me. Also, I carry the responsibility of protecting this country in place of my brother Leon. This is a problem I have to solve." Annette says, "Kojika's story reminded me of a horrible incident. The Kulalon Pass incident, which took the lives of 2 members of the royal family 10 years ago. I didn't expect it to be your mother and brother. I heard that not a single citizen didn't shed a tear when they heard the news. There's no stronger proof that the people of this country loved the royal family and would grieve if they lost you too. Therefore, leave this matter to us, please, as the princess of this country. You shouldn't expose yourself to danger now. Sensei, Nier, and I will go to defeat this monster." Sensei agrees to this, and Tama waits with the old man, who tells her she has good companions. Annette and her group head towards their destination, only to be blocked by these ogre servants. Annette steps forward to attack them, but Sensei moves ahead and tells the monsters that they have come to be eaten. His companions are shocked, and he explains that the new king's speech profoundly impacted him. He always thought about death and how he would die, but until he heard that speech, it never occurred to him to be eaten to death. Go quickly and tell your new king that someone has come to be eaten at the castle. Since the new king wanted hybrid creatures, he must want to eat a human like me too. The monsters are taken aback, saying, "What do we do with this pervert? We never expected such a request. Sensei becomes angry and quickly insists they deliver his message to the king. The red monster tries to calm him, and they end up locking them all in the dungeon. Annette starts screaming and crying while Sensei sleeps. He then wakes up and tells them that death is a good thing, but now is not the time to say that. Sensei takes off the boy's hat, retrieves a small metal object from it, and uses it to open the cell door. Meanwhile, we see the old man bringing soup to Princess Tama. When they open the door, they are shocked that she is gone. He says, "What a stubborn young girl." Elsewhere, we see the evil king with the original king, and the villain declares, "It's time for the first dinner. Which hybrid should I eat first?" The servants rush to him, eager to inform him that a strange human arrived earlier and wants to be eaten. Suddenly, Tama appears and strikes the two servants, taking them out instantly. The evil king says, "You came as I expected." Her father is furious, believing what she did was foolish. The evil king is delighted, having greatly desired to eat her as she is a beautiful hybrid woman. Will Tama and her friends be able to defeat this evil monster? We'll find out in the next episode, so stay tuned. But we ask you to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates. We see the king training his son Leon and telling him that he will be the next heir to the throne. Meanwhile, we see Matilda watching them from outside, perched on a tree. When her father, the king, notices her, he becomes angry due to her inappropriate attire. Matilda then asks her father if she can train with a sword like her brother Leon, as she believes it's unfair. The king becomes very angry and tells her to know her place as a princess, insisting that she should wear a beautiful dress and go read in her room. We then see Matilda in her room with her mother, who is brushing her hair. Matilda tells her mother that she hates her father because he scolds her, but she still wants to learn the art of combat. The scene then shifts back to the present, where we see the king angrily asking the princess why she has come. Kybera interjects, saying that he expected the princess would come when he used himself as bait, and indeed she did. Matilda decides to attack, but Kybera counters with a powerful strike that knocks her to the ground. He tells her that this was her father's power, but now it belongs to him, and he also gained the techniques possessed by anyone he consumes. The scene then cuts to Annette, who tells Sensei that his plan all along was to infiltrate. They proceed to the queen's room, where they enter and Sensei begins opening drawers, searching inside them. Nair and Annette are puzzled by his actions, and Nair asks him if he wasn't supposed to be fighting Kybera. Sensei then asks Nair to use his skills to open the drawers, to which Nair agrees and opens one. Inside they find a book. The scene shifts back to the battle between the princess and Kybera, where Kybera lands several consecutive blows on Matilda, defeating her and knocking her to the ground. She then recalls a memory of when she went to see her brother in the training yard and asked him why he trains all the time. Leon tells her that he is not a skilled fighter, but he must train hard to be like their father, capable of protecting her, their mother, and the entire town. Back in the present, we see Matilda trying to get up, refusing to give up. She thinks that if her brother Leon were in her place, he would never surrender. Kybera is pleased as he gets to fight her again and plans to eat her. He then remembers his previous life, where he was born in a castle-like mansion. His father would buy him everything he wanted, and he always ate luxurious food. Yet his heart was always empty. One day, he had the idea to prove that he was alive, so he killed one of the maids in the mansion. From that day on, he was imprisoned in the castle. One day, he went out into the city and killed someone on the road, after which a truck from the other world hit him, transporting him to this world where he can eat whatever he wants. Kybera then looks at Matilda with a savage gaze and tells her, "Let me eat you, princess." Just as he decides to devour her, Sensei appears at the last moment to prevent it. Behind him are Annette and Nair. Annette tells Matilda that Sensei has the ability to expel anyone from another world out of this one. Then Dana told him to use his power now and write Kybera's story using his ability as a storyteller. He responded, "Sensei, no, I will not write it," shocking everyone. He explained that this boring man's boasting of his misfortunes is not worthy of being written about. This enraged Kybera, who then charged himself with electricity, screamed at the top of his lungs, and exploded the entire place. He then threatened to kill them all. Matilda became very sad and said, "This is my fault. If I hadn't insisted on fighting from the beginning, this wouldn't have happened." She began to cry intensely, saying, "This is all wrong." Sensei then approached her and said, "Don't worry, everything will be resolved now." He then dedicated that story to her and told her, "I would like you to read it now." Your ill-fated destiny deserved to be written about. She opened the book and the pages scattered. This is Sensei's power. It has an effect on those who are not from other worlds. When the fierce Kaiberi approached them, Sensei spoke to Matilda and told her, "You are a foolish woman. You were bound by your father's vision of the ideal princess, which caused you much distress. After your family's disaster, in order to uplift your father's spirits, you sincerely tried to replace your brother, who was the ideal prince. But your pure feelings were not understood. Instead, you grew up and widened the rift between you and your father. And during that time, you also lost sight of your true self. But didn't your late mother tell you that you were meant to be something great? Don't you remember?" At that moment, a page appeared before Matilda, and it seemed she remembered that her mother had told her those words. "Listen carefully to what I'm about to say. Your life belongs to you alone. Live it as you see fit." She had replied, but father won't allow it. Her mother told her that she would convince him so she shouldn't worry, because her father wanted her happiness. We return to the present, and Sensei continues speaking. You stand at a crossroads. Will you live the life of an ideal princess as your father wished? Or will you live the life of an ideal prince in place of your brother, becoming prominent and a true warrior? But neither of these paths is truly yours, the one I knew. At that moment, the pages scattered and the chains around her broke. We witnessed something strange. The yellow aura around her grew more intense. She then remembered the seventh sense she possessed, an ability not common to many. Her brother said, "Let's go tell your father." But Matilda told him not to tell their father because he didn't want her to train in martial arts. At that moment, her father, who had been listening all along, returned to reality and said, "Since that day, the light in Matilda's hand never appeared again. But I was the one who sealed it. I sealed her innate talent because I wanted to protect her from making mistakes. Forgive me, Matilda. Your father was a fool. You won't be able to defeat me, little girl. Because I am the predator and your fate, you cattle, is to be consumed during your despair." Sensei is shown lighting a match to smoke a cigarette and says, "We'll see about that." Even though hope always deceives us similarly, despair deceives as well. Even when we're pushed into the depths of despair, we will find a glimmer of hope. At that moment, the princess's hand begins to glow brighter and brighter as she starts attacking Kaibara. He dismisses her attack and mocks her power, telling her, "I devoured your father's arm and mastered his abilities as well." A great power emanates from Kaibara, but the princess begins a diversionary attack, injuring him severely. She then lands another blow, nearly knocking him to the ground, before finishing him off with a decisive strike, killing him instantly. Afterward, the seal on the princess's hand disappears and she collapses. Her father catches her, and Annette quickly begins to heal her spirit. Sensei returns the book to the king, who says, "This book belonged to my wife. Why did you read her diary without permission?" Sensei replies, "You may sentence me to death again." The king responds, "As a father, I am truly grateful for saving my daughter and guiding her." The king bows to him and Sensei tells him, "All I did was write my book," before leaving. An old man appears and says, "It seems Princess Matilda has awakened her powers." And that glow is the light of the ultimate technique, the king's claw. The king agrees, saying, "Yes, that was amazing from my daughter." The old man adds, however, her king's claw technique is still incomplete. Suddenly, Kaibara wakes up again, now in the form of a monster, surprising everyone. The king exclaims, "This is impossible. He was supposed to be defeated by the king's claw." We then see Kaibara atop that monster, saying, "Why did I return to life?" He recalls something and says, "I told you I was one of the 7 heroes who defeated the Demon King. In truth, I secretly ate the dead Demon King's flesh back then, and now I feel the power burning in my body. I finally reached the pinnacle of predators in this world." He begins to attack them, but a major surprise occurs when the Demon King's daughter strikes his neck, causing him to fall to the ground. His face, still speaking, says, "This is perfect timing. There's something I wanted to tell you. Your father was so delicious. When I ate that flesh, I felt the joy of life for the first time." This enrages the Demon King's daughter, who launches a powerful magical attack, killing him instantly. Everyone is astonished by her immense power. She then looks at them as if she intends to kill them all. Sensei appears before her saying, "Hello, girl with the sad eyes." She is shocked that he is still alive. He tells her, "This was revenge for your father, wasn't it? Now, you must feel satisfied." The Demon King's daughter replies, "I'll kill you again," and quickly flies away on her dragon. Nier says Sensei is truly amazing. He drove away that terrifying woman who nearly destroyed us all. Sensei says when I thought about it, he was a lost and sad man as well. Even after killing him and avenging her father, the sadness never left her eyes. I would like to write her story someday. The scene then transitions to Meridina, who is expressing her deep gratitude for saving the royal capital. She asks why the princess didn't come with them. Annette tells her that the princess chose to stay at the castle to support the king. We'll miss it, but it was her decision. We then see the princess looking out of a window in her room. Her father, the king, enters and asks, "What are you doing in this room? It is meant for well-behaved princesses, not tomboys. Haven't the travelers left the city? You should accompany them." The princess responds, "But I wanted to protect you, father." The king replies, "I'm not so old that I need protection from a novice who lacks training. Come back here when you finish your journey." The princess is overjoyed and begins changing her clothes. Her father is shocked by the outfit she puts on. She quickly climbs out the window, using a tree to descend, and says, "I'll become a great and powerful martial artist like you when I return, father." "Now I'm off." We see the king, who is then approached by the old man. The old man says, "This is the only way you know how to talk to your daughter as she leaves. You were very harsh with her." The king responds, "She understood my feelings this time, for sure." He then holds his wife's book, smiling, because he feels reassured about his daughter. On the other side, we see Annette and Nair pulling Sensei, who calls out to him and emerges from the coffin, saying, "Unfortunately, unlike Annette, you have no talent for pulling coffins. You're a terrible puller." Nair gets annoyed and says, "Then walk on your own." Sensei replies, "It seems that won't be necessary." At that moment, Tama appears again to continue their long journey. They are all very happy that she has rejoined them, and with that, our episode ends for today. Stay tuned for very exciting episodes of this anime, but please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any updates.